Evening everyone, hope you're well out there. Work has been manic over here for me and I've been desperate to try to get back to do some videos of my absolute love, which is my vintage saws. So I have a very interesting old girl to show you today, which has been another labour of love to finish for several reasons, and a very unusual name, less than ubiquitous. Just, if you look for her, you just will barely find any information, and for really some really interesting reasons as well. So this saw at first glance will kind of look familiar, but the color scheme is really unusual, and there's a few similarities to where this has happened with different manufacturers, a bit like with John Deere. John Deere are not known for their chainsaws, and yet they have a range of saws, and of course when you look at them and look at the pictures, you realize that like the 55 and the 610, they're all using the Japanese Echo saws, beautiful saws. So this girl is a Norlett, and so that's Norlett. And if you look up Norlett chainsaws, well, it's interesting. You know, it'll be very interesting if you have a look and see what you can find, what information, because it's extremely scarce, and you have to know what you're looking for to get any of the details, and again, for really good reason. So when you look at this saw, this is obviously vintage, non-AV. It's got this beautiful sloped back, no throttle lock trigger to stop the accidental depressing, so you know it's early, rigid all the way back, all mag alloy construction, little baby plastic knuckle guard at the front, both top fills, beautiful symmetrical design. And so the reason you can't find Norlett, or you might find just a few hits for it, is because really Norlett aren't known for chainsaws. They were known for grass cutting equipment and ride-on tractors and scythes and blades, and they got an amazing history. And so the name Norlett is actually from a culmination of one of the founder companies in Norway, which is Norlett Metal, and they had a collaboration with a company called Amnor in a very interesting company as well, in the same line of work. Amnor are in Belgium, and they're located, very famous, they're located near the King Baudouin, might be terrible pronunciation, King Baudouin motorway. And the reason it was a bit of a big deal is because Norlett Metal, in conjunction with Amnor, they shortened the name Norsk, took the N over the R, dropped the S in the K, and took the beginning half of their second name, Let Metal, Let, so Norlett. So that's where the name Norlett comes from. And so to complement their range, they then used one of their local, or their native companies. This is a Jobu. So they had an arrangement with Jobu chainsaws, and this is an incarnation of the early Jobu L6, 56cc, and so there's a few really nice things about this saw, which are I think it was a royal inauguration as well, if I remember reading rightly. So when Norlett Metal joined with Amnor and they opened up their factory in Uvel, in Belgium, that might be dreadful pronunciation as well. So I think that was in 1968, and the then Prince and Princess of Norway, who would have been Harold and Sonia, I think that's right from history, something like that, I think. they actually attended that inauguration. That was such a big deal. And so the Jobu L6 was launched in 1968, and its bigger brother, the M5, which is a 69cc, was launched a year prior in 67. So this one is particularly nice because there are several variations of the L6 from Jobu, and they've modified the handle at the back slightly, then went to a plastic grip. They have a basic set of AV mounts and a brake, and they started changing things, but this is the one which I was really wanting to finish, which is one of the original ones, and it's no AV mounts. It's all metal plastic covered handle at the back. There's no brakes to any of the side covers, and she's just in astounding condition with spectacular compression, and was just missing a few just tiny bits just to make her nearly perfect. So, but interestingly, so Norlett so they started in their factory in Belgium near the King Baudouin motorway, and the reason you see Norlett in the UK is because there's a Norlett. So I think they made them in 4 places, this new enterprise. So they had Norlett amazingly, in England, in Oxfordshire, in Belgium, in Denmark, and then of course in Norway. And so when you look at it, what's really interesting is they didn't put the name Norlett on the chainsaw as you might expect, but if you look at an original Jobu casting on the side casing, you will see Jobu made in Norway. And what they've done is they've blanked out that on the casting or the molds when they've made the side covers. Now it just says made in Norway. So it doesn't say on here Jobu, but of course, yes, this is a Jobu L6, and is an absolute thing of beauty. So amazing compression. Yeah, so yes, so you would tend to find some people in that area of the UK know the name Norlett, but not for chainsaws, but for other farming equipment. And then interestingly as well, it's really interesting actually, the more you read about the history of some of the companies, you realise that the Electrolux group was a prolific world force in acquiring so many organisations. So they acquired, I think, the Norlett group in 1981, 81 or 83. Sorry guys, I think it's 81. And then what you found then at that time was there's some brands then, because Electrolux owned Flymo, you then found there was an offshoot which was the Flymo-Norlett, which I haven't seen any of that equipment, but that's just as an aside. So here she is then. So she's, as far as I know, one of the very early original Norlett Jobu L7s, non-AV, and is just in this gorgeous yellow and black paintwork. Is got a beautiful piston, has amazing compression, and nearly every nut and bolt now is present and correct threads. It's missing just now the little nylon, white nylon trigger for the top of the choke, and other than that, she's complete. Let me show you what this girl runs like. There's a very good reason that the Norwegian army used these in the military. Oh, have I just flooded that? Maybe. Oh. absolutely ferocious 56cc professional chainsaws. And so this is her first day running today. So, well, this is her first day running now complete. The engine was starting before, but missing just a few bits which just make her just even nicer now, which was she was missing, as they so many do, correct caps. Correct caps has now been purchased. Can't get them new. I haven't seen any new because 1968, so she's wow, coming out of 53 years old. Was waiting on an HS69 correct Tillotson kit. Just nice to have that to make fueling perfect. And you can just see she wants the tick over settling down, but it's the bits of the last couple of bits only came yesterday. So kit for the carburetor. I was waiting for a tension spring for the intricate pull start mechanism, which is, it uses a friction element, a little bit like lots of the early steel saws, and it uses a tension spring to push down, this time on a steel plate which just holds against the two metal dogs which fly open. And so that's nice to have that fully rebuilt, and the spring, and indeed and the exhaust, and the correct exhaust holding bolts, which are, they look like headed bolts from the outside, a big 13mm headed nut on them, but they're actually, they're probably an 8 or 10mm shaft, and they're hollowed out, and so they screw over the top of the exhaust studs, and they stop the exhausts, as they often do, they stop the exhaust with the shoulder getting crushed, and so now it has a mint exhaust with the correct shoulder bolts. And so here she is, all original screws all the way around, as far as I can tell, everywhere, and virtually irreplaceable. So that is the gorgeous Norlett, and so a Jobu L6 56cc. This one's running my little baby, I think it's the 13-inch bar I buy for this one, 14-inch, 13-inch, can't remember, 3/8 pitch, nearly brand new Oregon chain. And guys, I hope that's interesting. Amazing engines, they're just so ferocious. The M5, her slightly bigger and older sibling, was launched a year earlier by Jobu, and so you think Jobu's history dates back to 47, and then a year later, hot on their heels were Heinz and Hans Emmerich of Solo Saws in 1948. Choke. Meant to say as well, what's really interesting on the design of the Jobus is actually very similar to the Lombard as well in this regard. As you pull the throttle, how far you pull the throttle actually activates a lever inside and depresses and dispenses more oil. So you don't dispense loads of oil when you're on tick over at low RPM, and then as you dispense and get the full throttle, it opens up the oil pump fully. It's a really great system. Guys, thanks for watching. That's the Norlett, aka the Jobu L6 in yellow and black from 1968. Bye for now, guys.